This is why if I'm not expecting nobody, I'm not opening that door. So there's this woman who lives in the rural Midwest in a house right off the highway. Her house was right in between two towns, basically on the county line, and they had a big circle driveway. If you drove into the driveway, you would be headed straight towards their barn. But if you curved to the right, you would be heading to their garage. And if you go past the garage, you could circle back around in front of the house and come back to where you started. They had two large double doors in the front of the house, but they said they hardly used them. They mainly used the door in the garage, which is pretty normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody always used the back door, the side door. Like, nobody really be using the front doors. I mean, I guess some people use the front doors, but I don't know. Out in the country where I'm from, everybody use their back door and their side door. So one night, it's super late. She, her husband, and her 3-year-old are all asleep when the doorbell rings. It wakes her up, and she thought she was dreaming at first, but then she hears it again. So she wakes her husband up and tells him that somebody rang the doorbell, and he's like, are you sure? Like, I didn't hear anything. You sure you're not hearing things? And then it rings again. So she says it's really dark outside, but they have dusk till dawn lights, so most of the driveway is lit up. Now, I ain't know what no dusk till dawn light was. I ain't never heard of that. But apparently it's a light where, like, when the sun is going down, the light cuts on. And then, like, when the sun is rising, the lights cut back off. Which I think is pretty convenient. That's pretty dope. Do I ever see one of them? I don't know. We just always got the porch light on. She says, unfortunately, you can't really see at the front door, though, unless you actually open it up. She said you can't open one door at a time, or you can lift, like, the latch that's at the top and the bottom and open both doors at the same time. Now, y'all got dusk till dawn lights. Y'all ain't got no damn Ring doorbell, a peephole. I don't know, like, the only option is to open the door. I feel like y'all should put some other options in place. Maybe the Ring cameras won't have been in. I don't know. She did say this was like 10 years ago. But I know y'all got a damn peephole. Y'all got double doors. Y'all gotta have a peephole. A window by the door, something. So husband gets up and she follows. He decides he's gonna open the door. Why? Why? She's like, she wanna call the cops, but she knows that because they live on the county line, it's gonna take them a long time to get there. I don't give a damn how long it takes them to get there. Whoever's out there can wait till they get here. Because I'm not opening that door. I'm not opening that door. I got my 3-year-old in here. It's this late at night. We not expecting nobody. We can't even see. We ain't got no peephole. I'm not opening that damn door. But husband opens the door. So there's a girl standing out there. She looks like she's in her 20s. And they say she looks normal, except for the fact that she's standing at their door in the middle of the damn night. So she looks past the girl and sees that there's a car pulled up kind of like in the driveway right off of the road. Not up in the driveway, not around the circle, like not up to the house, but just like right off of the road. I'm not gonna lie, I had a really hard time picturing this driveway layout. Like I don't really understand it. Maybe if somebody else feel like they can understand what a driveway look like, draw a picture of it and put it in the comments for me. So shorty at the door is like, can I use y'all phone? Because my car battery died or something. I don't know, but I can't get it to start. So husband says, fuck no, and shuts the door. No, I'm kidding. That's not what he said. I wish that's what he would have said, but he didn't. But the wife is like, this is how horror movies start. What we can do is call the police for you. The girl keeps asking, just let me use the phone. Like, can I just come in and use your phone? Like, that's all I want to do. But wife is like, no, you're not coming in. Sorry. Not sorry, actually. They tell her, look, we gonna call the cops for you. That's that on that. And the girl, like, storms off the porch. So they watch her walk back to her car. They can see the girl. They can see the car. They call the police. The police are like, all right, like, give us like 15 minutes. They don't sound that concerned. And the wife said, honestly, she wasn't that concerned either. She was like, it's just a girl. Like, she probably do got a dead battery, but I ain't finna let her in this house to find out. Like, and I don't blame her. I wouldn't be like, I'm sorry you got a dead battery, but you gonna have to sit in that car with that dead battery. We gonna call the folks for you, though. So the girl then opens the trunk of her car and no lights come on. So it does indicate that her car battery is dead. And she's rummaging around the trunk. Then the driver's side door opens and out steps a guy. Then the back passenger door opens and out steps another guy. Upon seeing this, I would have looked at my husband and say, now what the hell you open that goddamn door for? Because for what? What you open that door for? And what they doing out there? And why she ain't tell us it was 2 other people in the car with her? Suspicious. So now all 3 of them are like rummaging through the trunk. Shorty said she can't hear what they're saying. She can't see what they're doing. They just like in the trunk and then they all get back in the car. So at this point, 5 minutes have gone by and she hoping that the sheriff just kind of hurries up. But she knows it's probably going to be about another 10 minutes before they get there. She said they're still in the car, like not moving. She can't really see in the car, but there's no light on in the car or anything. And like, there's nothing going on. She says she knows that they're sitting in the car and haven't gotten out of the car and like walked up to the house or anything, because they would have had to walk right under the dusk till dawn lights, and she definitely would have saw them. She says she thinks she sees the driver like light a cigarette in the car, but she's not 100% sure. And then she sees someone walking towards the car from the direction of the barn. It's a man. She doesn't know who he is. She said they don't have any neighbors. And he's coming from the back of their property, which has a creek. He walks under the dusk till dawn lights and goes straight to the car. Doesn't even look at the house. And he gets in the back. Wee woo. I don't know if they got that thing on them in that house, but I would have had that thing ready for whatever. Because at this point, what y'all doing out there? Because what you doing in my backyard? What was you going to find back there to start the car? And get this. He gets in the car starts, and they drive off. Now I thought the damn car was dead. I thought the car was dead. I almost believed that her battery was dead. No, I didn't. I never believed that. But the lady in the story almost believed it. So the cops arrive about 10 minutes later, and they don't find nothing. I mean, what could they find? Like, I guess they go to look and see, like, if he had broken into anything, but I guess they don't find anything. And he like, well, we don't see nothing. Call us if they come back, I guess. How about you spend a night outside? How about that? Patrol, do a little patrol. Just do a little stakeout, if you would be so kind. But husband goes into the shop, which is apparently on their property, and gets his pew-pew, and they try to go back to sleep. I would be so unrested. I wouldn't be getting a lick of sleep. Not a lick. My eyes would burn from how long I would keep them open laying in that bed. But folks never came back. They don't know who they was. They don't know what they wanted. I don't give a damn who they was or what they wanted. Crazy business. Y'all stay safe out there.
Whatever you do, do not talk to Zozo. I did this and messed up so bad. First of all, you guys shouldn't even be using Ouija boards. But I know some of you guys are not gonna listen to me, and talking to him is a no-no. Actually, you can't even say his name out loud 3 times or you will summon him. When I was 16, I accidentally summoned Nozo. Before I tell you what happened, let me tell you a little bit about who Bozo is. Toto is also known as the Ouija board demon. Of all the things to talk to on a Ouija board, he's not it. He is supposedly a fallen angel that was banished from the heavens by God. Some people even compare him to the actual devil. In the 1940s, a little boy named Roland Doe was possessed. It has become a widespread belief that Toto is the one that possessed him. This little boy's story is what inspired the first exorcism movie. I'm Nikki, and if you're new to my channel, I'm a professional ghost hunter. One of the reasons you have to be so careful with Ouija boards and talking to Toenail is because he can actually mimic voices of the dead. And a lot of times people using Ouija boards are wanting to talk to dead loved ones. He will prey on your insecurities and your fears, and overall he just sucks. He delights in scaring people, so whether that's telling you you're gonna pass soon or telling you there's 9 ghosts instead of 2 in the house, he even goes as far as to confuse psychics by telling them things like he's a little boy ghost and he's scared of the big bad ghost in the corner. There's a malevolent spirit in the house, but really there's only one, and it's him. He is a master deceiver, and we can go through the whole history of Bobo. Some people even think he's the only spirit that you actually talk to through a Ouija board, which I hope that is not the case, because I've used a Ouija board a lot in my life. It was Halloween and I was in high school. Now, I grew up in a small town, and if you're in a small town, you most likely have one of these. Around Halloween, a bunch of like haunted hayride things will pop up. It's like the thing to do with friends or a date. And I was a theater kid, so when my friend Connor from theater class asked me if I wanted to go on this haunted hayride, I said yes. Now, I didn't see Connor as anything more than a friend, and actually one of my friends had a crush on Connor. So when we went on the hayride and Connor tried to kiss me, I was caught off guard, to say the least. But I'm a girl's girl, and I'm not about to do my friend like that. This is Piper, my haunted doll, and she's gonna play Connor for this demonstration, because I know there's some girls out there that will be like, oh, well, he kissed me, I didn't kiss him. This is how you be avoiding that. He comes in like this, and I'm like, anyways, I swerve Connor. You're probably like, what does this have to do with ghost hunting, Nikki? Well, I didn't do anything risky in high school. I didn't sleep with people. I didn't drink, nothing of that sort. So when Connor decided to come up with a rumor to boost his ego at school the next day, the most realistic thing he could come up with was that I was a witch. And boy, did people believe that one. Yes, I dyed my hair black. Yes, I had a black cat. But I was at church every Wednesday. Y'all know small town rumors, they don't just disappear. So being the queen that I am, and I heard this rumor, I embraced it. One, if everyone thinks I'm a witch and they think I'm gonna like curse them or something, which I know that's not all witches do, but that's a pro in my book. So after second period, this girl I've never met comes up to me. The quiet, shy girl that sits in the back of the class. And I have never spoken to this girl in my life. life. The first thing she says to me is, so I heard you're a witch. And I'm like, call me Ursula, what can I do for you, baby? I'm thinking this girl's gonna be asking me for like a love potion or something, which I would have no idea how to make. No, she says, my house is haunted. Can you get rid of the ghost? Theater Nikki activates. Of course I can get rid of your ghost. Now at this point I already believed in ghosts because I grew up in a haunted house. But this girl did not have a ghost. She had a demon. We'll get to that later. I fill a spray bottle about this size that's clear with water. I show up at her house and tell her it's holy water. I spray it around her house. And then before I leave I tell her actually I'm not a witch. But yeah, this was funny. That's how I met my best friend. So that's how this all got started. The house that I grew up in was also haunted, but we'll get into that later. First, let me tell you a little bit about the thing that was in her house. At the time, we didn't know anything about spirits or ghosts. This thing had a weird affiliation with a snow globe that she kept in her closet. He would appear as a shadow man and he would pace around her room at night, specifically between the hours of 2 and 3 a.m. We knew there was something there, but we didn't know who it was or what it wanted. So we looked up how to talk to ghosts, and that's where we learned about Ouija boards. How bad can they be? You can get them at your local Toys R Us. Is my age showing with that one? When you first get a Ouija board and you open the box, there's a few rules. Rule number 1, never play alone. Rule number 2, never play in a graveyard. Rule number 4, you never let it go to the 4 corners of the board or make a figure 8. You also never leave the planchette on the board because that opens a portal. Rule number 5, always keep your fingers on the planchette until you say goodbye. And last but not least, the most important rule, always say goodbye. We were young, we were naive, we didn't read instruction manuals. Are you kidding? We basically broke every single one of these rules. But we started using the board to talk to the ghost in her house. We would ask it things like, does my crush like me back? Will so-and-so break up? Who's gonna go to prom with who? But the scary part was, it was always right. And because it was always right, we became addicted to playing with the board because we wanted to know more. Wouldn't you want to know more?
So this person says that their dad was such a nice, kind human being. He would help anybody, even if you were a stranger. His family and friends would always tell him to be cautious because yeah, he might stop and help people, but what if people have bad intentions and they try to rob him and things like that? So there was one night where he got out of work a little late. It was 11 p.m. and he was hoping to make it home to have dinner with the family, but he knew it was a little late by then, so he was at the very least hoping that he would get home and that his wife would be awake. What he didn't know was that the entire family was actually waiting for him to get home. It didn't matter what time he was gonna get there. However, back in these days, there was no cell phone, so basically he couldn't call the family and tell them that he was gonna be there late or that something happened on the way home. So what the dad couldn't call and let his family know was that in the middle of him driving through this very foresty, darkest part of the outskirts of the city, he had seen 2 individuals stuck on the side of the road. Dad couldn't help himself and he didn't think that he was gonna stop thinking about them if he just like drove past these people. So as Dad was driving through this foresty part, he sees on the side of the road a car and a man with a child standing there asking for help. He decided to turn around and ask them what they needed help with. The man ends up telling the dad that he just needs a car jack because his tire literally exploded while he was driving through there and he has a spare tire but he didn't have a car jack. So the dad agreed to help and he actually parked his car in front of the man's car. And he says that the forest he was very familiar with because he would go there to camp out with his kids, but at the time it was night. Nobody was there and it looked a little spooky to be there at that time. So he was like, I need to help them out. Can you imagine how scared that kid is? And the dad not finding help, so yeah, he was gonna help them out. So the dad opens up the trunk, he gets the car jack out, and when he does, he realizes that the boy started running towards the forest and was playing near the trees. So the dad tells the kid, hey, you might want to come back over here because it's dangerous to be in the forest. So the kid didn't really listen to the dad, and the man that was there was like pretending like he didn't hear him. So he's like, you know what, let me not tell somebody else's kid what to do, and he just decided to put the car jack underneath the man's car. So as the man was moving that car jack and putting that tire in place, the dad was looking at the kid and he noticed that now the kid was just playing in between the trees. He did notice that the kid wasn't really getting that far away from them, but he was almost like playing hide and go seek behind each tree. So he would walk behind a tree, peek out, and then walk to the next tree and peek out. So he was just like watching the kid this entire time. So dad decided to tell the man, hey, the kid can get hurt. There's a lot of bad things in the forest. And the man was so concentrated on the tire that that he just looked at him and said, huh? And that's when the dad sees that the kid just came running and got inside of the car, so he decided not to say anything else and just let it go completely. The man was finally able to change the tire, and obviously he was so appreciative. The man tells the dad, like, I know nobody would have stopped and helped me because it almost looks like a trick, like I was gonna stop you to rob you or something like that, so I really appreciate you stopping. He was like, I would have not stopped here. So thank you so much for stopping and helping me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So the dad's like, how do you think I would have left you guys here alone? It's so dark and scary out in this forest. The man just started laughing a little awkwardly, but he started walking towards his door to get in the car so that they can leave. The dad ends up getting his car jack and he was about to walk to his car, but he notices that only the man was inside of the car now. The kid was nowhere to be found. When he sees this, he goes to the driver's window and he's like, hey, where's the kid? Like, where's the kid that was with you? The dad said that this man's face just like changed completely, that his eyes were like wide open. It looked like they were gonna pop out of his face, and he ends up looking at him and telling him, what kid? What kid? What kid? What the fuck? The dad was like, the kid that was standing with you when I passed by. That's why I stopped to help you. As soon as he says this, both of them heard a laughter, like a little boy laughing, and those laughters were coming from like the back of the car, but obviously nobody was there. And it was in that moment where that guy tells the dad who had stopped to help, hey, get in your car. We need to get out of here. Get in your car right now. The man did wait for the dad to get in his car because again, it was in front of him. He wanted to follow him and make sure that they both got out of there. They drove together for about 10 minutes and they started to see a lot more of the city, and they both stopped at the first gas station that they saw. When they stopped, the dad actually got the car jack to put it in the trunk because when that happened, all he did was throw that car jack in the passenger seat to get the fuck out of there. They both started talking like, what the fuck? Like, they were both scared, but at the same time, the dad was like, well, let's not think of it as a bad thing, because if it wasn't for that little boy, I honestly wouldn't have stopped to help you. However, the guy ends up telling the dad that as he was driving through that forest is when he heard that same laughter, and that was when his tire actually exploded and he got stuck on the side of the road. He tells the dad, I am 1000% sure that that was the same laughter that I heard because it almost sounded like a little kid laughing. So the person sharing the story is the son of the dad that stopped to help the guy on the side of the road, and he explains that now his dad has passed, but even until his dad got into very old age, he would maintain this story and he would say that this really happened and he is not making any of this up. So what do you guys think this was? Like, was it something good because he stopped to help him, but also why did he hear the laughter when his tire exploded? Like, what the heck? Or what could this have been? Also, oh my god, I cannot take the image out of my head of this kid like going from tree to tree and peeking out, and like the guy who stopped to help was just staring at him like, what the fuck?
Let's read some more scary Reddit stories. Many years ago, my brother was driving home from college very late at night, early in the morning after finals or midterms from Michigan to Illinois. He's in the middle of nowhere and is getting drowsy. He dozes off for a second, then wakes up to someone saying wake up or stay awake behind him. Not screaming or anything, just what you'd say to someone if you were in the car with them. He looks in the rearview mirror and there's a girl sitting there. He looks at the road and looks again in the rear view and turns around. She's gone. A mile or two later, he drives past a cross and all these flowers on the side of the road. He's wide awake for the rest of the way home. Come to find out later, a college girl fell asleep one night while driving there. She fell asleep and went off the road and crashed and passed away. That is actually so sad. I was in a dead sleep on my couch when I got woke up by wailing and screaming on the front porch of my apartment building. It was my neighbor and some cops. The conversation happening outside my living room window was he had taken shrooms and also had a pew-pew in his apartment, and he admitted to wanting to blast through the walls then himself, so he called 911 and turns himself in. We shared a wall. His ass wanted to shoot all his neighbors. He was put on a gurney and taken to the hospital in an ambulance. I think he came home 2 or 3 days later, if memory serves me. I heard his door opening a lot, so assumed he was home, and shortly moved out afterwards. We only spoke maybe 5 or 6 times in the 7 years he lived on the other side of my living room wall. Okay, wait, I'm confused. So he wanted to pew-pew through the wall and unalive his neighbor at the same time? I don't really get that one. Okay, moving on. When I was little, around 8, I hated going to the dentist. He always made me uncomfortable for some reason. I remember thinking his smile stretched too far and seemed forced, like clowns. Anyway, my mom always came with me and went back so I wouldn't be scared. One day my dad had me, my parents were divorced, and he had to take me to the dentist. They tried to make me go back alone so he could sit in the lobby doing whatever. The assistants had to literally drag me back to the room, and you could hear me screaming and crying down the hall, refusing to sit in the chair. Finally, my dad came back to get me. Irritated, I'd made a scene. He rescheduled my appointment to when my mom would have me, and we just left. He made a big deal about how bad I was acting and told my mom she was spoiling me and all sorts of shit. 2 weeks later, it's on the news that my dentist was charged with child porn after essaying children under anesthesia and photographing it. I lived in a small college town and my apartment complex was walking distance from the bar downtown area. One weekday night, I stepped out on our front porch to smoke a cigarette or two. I was up late studying. I brought my textbook with me and sat down on the stairs while I smoked. A girl who I had never met, but who lived one apartment over but down on the ground floor, came home from downtown. She was by herself and you could tell from her walk she had been drinking. She got in her apartment and barely got the door closed before some guy who came out of nowhere knocked on her door. She opened and I noticed he introduced himself, which was weird because it was after 2:30 a.m. Who comes to a strange girl's apartment at that time? So I decided to stay outside and pay attention. They ended up talking for over 10 minutes. She later acknowledged how weird the situation was but did not know how to end the conversation. He would do the creepiest things, like he reached up and stroked her hair at least 3 times and would try to slowly inch his way closer to her and the door. I made a point of being loud with my textbook so he would know I was there, and he disappeared as eerily as he had come. We called the cops, and days later, they had the girl and me sit with a sketch artist. As soon as the sketch was made public, floods of calls came in. Guy turned out to be a serial rapist who followed lone girls home from bars and pretended to be a cab offering them a ride. This girl just got lucky because she lived so close to the bars. He didn't get a chance to pull that cab routine. And that is why you don't open the door for strangers. When I was little, my mom would take me to Kmart and let me wander around the toy section while she shopped. Normal in the 70s. One day as I was playing Simon Says, an old man walked up to me and was making small talk while I played. He eventually told me to come with him and took me by the hand. We walked right down the main center aisle of the stores towards the exit sign in the back. As we crossed the last row, I looked to the right and saw my mom at the end of the row. I told him I saw my mom and had to go. I pulled away my hand and ran down to her. I didn't tell her what happened because I didn't want to get in trouble for going with a stranger. It was several years later that I realized that I had probably narrowly avoided being kidnapped or worse. In a cold winter night in a remote village from Quebec, Canada in 1990, me and my 2 brothers were asleep. We were 1, 3, and 6 years old. In the middle of the night, someone entered our house without knocking, walked around and was talking to himself. Our house is 2 miles from the village in a rural area. My father woke up, went to the living room where the guy was. He had a car accident 1 mile from our house with his buddy who passed away instantly, and his scalp fell in front of his face. So the first time my father saw him, he saw a man with no face. He was drunk and his body was frozen. He was speaking to himself. The fact that his face was partially frozen might have saved his life, preventing him to lose too much blood. My father took him to the hospital, and he did survive. That is freaking crazy. Went camping with some friends on a hill a few kilometers out in the woods from one of the guys' houses. There's a few hiking, 4-wheeling trails in the area that lead up to the hill, so it's known by locals. It was about midnight, we had a fire going, and we were just sitting around having a good time. Then the guy, there was 4 of us, sitting opposite of me, yells, "Who are you?" I turn around and there's this man about 6 feet tall staring at us from the edge of the woods with a big rock in his hand. One guy knocked an arrow in the compound bow we had. The guy across from me grabbed the hatchet and I pulled the knife off of my belt. We had no clue what we were doing, but the guy wouldn't say anything to us. He eventually just backed into the woods. No sleep was had that night and we kept a very large fire going. We were partying at a usual party spot by the river and some dude came out of the woods. He just kept saying weird shit like, "You gotta watch yourself down here. There are some bad folks around here." And when asked who he was, he just said, "I'm nobody." We were all a little sketched out and basically told the guy to fuck off. A couple days later, a girl went off the rope swing there and got really fucked up. Someone put fishing hooks all over the bottom of the rope swing and it took chunks of flesh out of her leg. Later, we found out the dude was just a guy that lived nearby, and although a creepy drunk, he was harmless. There was a fucked up, probably inbred family that lived up the road that he would warn people about. About 5 years later, last year, they beat some kid up with a log and kidnapped some girl at Pew Pew Point and took her on a joyride. That sounds like wrong turn. Once I was walking my dog in a park in London, Ontario. There are houses that sit on the edge of the park and back onto the Thames River and hiking trails. It was a pretty hot day and my dog was thirsty, so I brought him to the river to drink. We got down to the river and we were behind a house with a large privacy fence that sat on the edge of the park. While my dog was drinking, I heard loud banging noises coming from the backyard like a hammer. I thought somebody was building a shed or something. All of a sudden, the hammer stops and a man says, "Shut up, nobody knows you're here." And the banging began again. I froze in fear and then ran up to the bank back into the park. I was now directly beside said creepy house. A man came out of the backyard in fatigues with a rusty old wheelbarrow, heading towards 2 quintessential kidnapping vans parked in front of his house. He noticed me looking at him as I was walking past, set down the wheelbarrow, and just stared at me until I was out of the park. I called the police when I got home, and I still have no idea what happened. Eek, that's scary. Last year, a guy came to my house's door around 9 p.m. He knocked and I got my mom and she went out to see what was up. By the way, we live in a very rural area, so visits that late are extremely uncommon and strange. The guy talked to my mom about how he was opening a business, asked whether she liked American-made products, then handed her a Clorox container as a sample. He went back to his minivan and opened it to get a vacuum cleaner when my mom saw 5 other men sitting inside. She told me to run and get my phone since we don't have a landline. I couldn't find it, so I got my knife and stood around the corner. She threw the container outside and told them to get the hell off of her property, as well as she was calling the cops. They peeled out of the driveway and we never saw the car again. That is so scary.
My friend won't let anyone in her house after 9:30, and I just found out why. They're the happiest couple that I've ever met. Like, if you didn't believe in love, this couple would make you believe in it. But one evening, it all came crashing down. I arrived at JC's house at 5 p.m. sharp. She is obsessed with time, always wondering why someone's a minute late or a minute early, as if she's a detective and you're in her interrogation room. But before I get into what happened, let me tell you a little bit about JC. She's got pitch black hair, a nose ring, wears dark clothing. She's the type of girl that has pumpkins sitting out in the beginning of September. And she's super welcoming. Actually, the rug on her front door reads, "Leave now." So tonight I was going by her house because me and her had planned a movie night. But we had to start the movie night at 5 because she never lets anyone in her house after 9:30. As soon as I walked into her house, I immediately smelled cinnamon cookies. I was hoping they were for me, well, for us. But JC just brought in a big bowl of popcorn and some drinks, which was fine. I certainly wasn't going to complain and lose her trust for the next 2 decades. Then the movie ended. We thought Halloween 2 was okay. While JC went upstairs to find another movie, I decided to give myself a tour of the house. And here's when things started to go wrong. I was just glad she was willing to watch another movie and that she was letting her friends back into her life. She hadn't really been social since her and Tyler broke up. No one knows what happened between them, just that they were together one day and then the next day they weren't. After the breakup, no one heard from Tyler again. Then we started the second movie, Saw 4. She fell asleep during the movie, and the next time I checked my phone, it was 9:15. I thought, I better get going soon, even though she probably wasn't gonna wake up in the next 15 minutes. I headed over to the kitchen to grab a glass of water before leaving, and then I saw those cinnamon cookies on the counter, and I was like, she's not gonna miss one, right? After finishing the cookie, I turned on the water on the sink to wash my hands, but I was trying to be like really quiet because I didn't want to wake her up. The water didn't wake her up, but my scream did.
If you are dreaming and someone asks to hold your hands, never let them. So this lady says that growing up, her mom always told her that if you're dreaming of someone who has already passed away and they come to you in your dreams asking to hold your hands, to never let them because they can take you with them. She explains how she never really understood if her mom was just saying that to scare them or if she really meant what she was saying. She says that her mother has since passed away. However, her mom came to her in a dream and she remembers everything she was wearing down to like her nails, that they were still done, because she remembers that in life her mom always had her nails done. So in the dream, the mom looks at her and she's like, "You're not scared of me?" And the lady, she's like, "No, what? Like, why would I be scared of you? You're my mom." And the very next thing her mom told her was, "Give me your hands." And she told her, "No, why do you want my hands?" But she does say that she did touch her in the dream, like her shoulder, and that she remembers how cold her mom was in the dream. And when she told her mom mom, no, why do you want my hands? Her mom was like, no, daughter, just give me your hand. Come on, give me your hand. She says that she told her, no, mom, I'm okay. I don't want to take your hand. And you know, she woke up. That was the end of the dream. Once she wakes up, she feels kind of guilty for not giving her mom her hands, but she remembered, like even in her dream, she remembered that her mom living would tell her never take their hands. So she's like, did my mom want to take me with her? I mean, in that moment, she's like laying in bed with her 2 daughters. So she's like, why would my mom want to take me away and leave my 2 daughters here alone? So then she thought something different. She was like, what if that was not my mom? I'm over here like, what if the mom came just to test her and see if she learned her lesson about not taking somebody's hand? But I don't know, either way, it's creepy. It's a little scary, especially when it's like your loved ones and you're like thinking like, oh my god, I should have taken her hand, because she's still feeling guilty about it. And honestly, I would probably feel guilty too. If you want to listen to the story in Spanish, this is what's gonna look like, and it's called Relatos de Luna Llena. But what do you guys think? Has this ever happened to you? Are you going to take anybody's hand? Hopefully the answer is no.
Bye, thanks for watching. Let me know if I should do more of these. If you guys want me to do more, I will do longer ones.